Alright guys, what's up? It's day 8 here, and if you're just tuning in, this is a channel dedicated to the legacy of the patriarchal man, and also the warrior code. Okay, we're looking to find a warrior code that was lived decades ago, and trying to bring it into this era. Okay, a lot of people have different names for it, MGTOW, PUAs, game. I like to call this the warrior code because I know certain men that are in their 50s that have had half of the success, I should say, with in terms with these different practices like game, PUA, and MGTOW. And if you don't know what that is, just look it up. But like I guarantee you that a lot of these guys that are in their between 50s and 60s have probably never read a book on game. But there's a lot of guys that came from an era where they were brought up with personal development, where people talk to them about every single thing. So we're just in an era now where people are just not getting that type of instruction. So we had to go out and make our own instruction, or find these people who had expertise in these fields, so we could try to make our lives better. Okay, so what's the topic today? We're talking about war brides. Okay, and hopefully this rain doesn't mess me up. It's kind of getting a little harder in certain places. If you know about Florida, it could be raining for 2 blocks and stop for the next 2 blocks. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, we're talking about war brides, and I chose to talk specifically about war brides from Japan because there's a lot of information on that. In 1952, after World War II, we see the biggest increase of Japanese women coming into America. I think the estimate was around 50,000 at one point of Japanese marrying American men from the war. So what's interesting about that is like I said, there's a lot of documentaries. I suggest you guys take a look at it, and we're looking at that because we want to know more about the psyche of this woman. So during the video, the narrator is a woman, and it's interesting to me how all behavior, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, it's always celebrated. And that's the reason, like last video, we were talking about how women seldom have consequences for their shaming tactics. But it's really down to a whole bunch of stuff that they do. It's just celebrated just because they're doing it. So in the video, there's one point where they say that the Japanese women had found the American men so attractive because their men, in contrast, had just lost the war. Food supply was low. They were losing weight. And so this is where the hypergamy goes into play. Now, this is a war, though, right? So some of these men could have been their brothers, also their husbands, fathers, uncles, and they just disregard that and say, hey, well, whatever, I need to eat now, so whatever, all right, time to do this. And some of these Japanese women would have up to 12 husbands because they wouldn't immediately go to America. So they were just swindling a bunch of GIs back in the time. So back then, what would happen is, if a GI married a Japanese woman, he'd give her $15. The state would match it. So here we go with this state always compensating women for kind of selling out or layering up, okay, with a false mask. So yeah, so the government matched that $15, so they'd have $30. Now, if the GI didn't take them with them, they would get $30 a month. Let me cross the street real quick. they would get $30 a month for their basically selling out, for lack of another word. So we're trying to really just get this in. Rain's getting a little heavier. We can tell you about, I don't know if you guys know about Hurricane Michael. Big up to Hurricane Michael, okay? We're not scared of storms. That's why we out here running and making it happen. But you guys stay safe out there. Protect yourself. Watch for the Q&As. Okay, so war brides. So we said they go into this hypergamy where they basically just sold out their brothers, sold out their fathers, sold out their husbands, so they could get with this American guy for $30 a month, right? So there's always a money that's attached to it, okay? So this is the psyche that I was looking at. A little bit later in the video, they actually had trainings, right? Where American women would teach Japanese women sort of the lifestyle so they could become accustomed to how they would have to raise their child, etiquette, all those things. And you know, again, Japanese, it's really easier, I think, for them to acclimate because they come from a culture of acclimating as long as there's power coming from that other person. Okay, like they kneel down, they bow, you know, so it's easy for them to kind of acquiesce in a sense. Okay, so later on in the video, they was talking to one of these Japanese brides' daughter, which was mixed. She was American and Japanese, and she was saying how she found it so remarkable how quick it was for her mother to transition. And they were showing some pictures at one point, and the woman said, wow, look how these pictures look so wonderful, and you look so happy. And it's interesting, the Japanese woman says, of course, well, that's how I'm supposed to look. I'm supposed to look like I'm happy. You know, so in the video, they give it away that they really didn't like these American guys. They were doing it for one, for the $30 a month. And then for two, they wanted to get out of Japan by any means necessary because a nuclear bomb had just dropped and food was very low, and they wanted out. And so that was their way to kind of get out of this scenario that they put themselves in. Okay, so why are we talking about war brides? We're talking about war brides because we want to know the psyche more of a woman and why she makes these opportunistic decisions as opposed to idealistic. Okay, for instance, guys will come into the picture with this Snow White. The guy is more Snow White than the woman, okay, because he believes that the love and affection and the care can turn into something practical and rational, and at the same time positive for both people to be able to enlighten themselves and become better people. Because ultimately, that's what relationships are about. If it's healthy, if you have a healthy biology, both people are able to grow, okay? But if you have the inherent nature of a woman, you know, being opportunistic, we got these war brides as an example. We need to take note. We got to take note of what's going on, because if not, we fall back into the same trap where we're just unable to make sound decisions, be with the right person, and it's just a big challenge trying to do that. Okay, so you know, just like G.I. Joe says, knowing is half the battle. We got to act on these things. Okay, you see some war bride, some people call them bridezilla. I like that word too, but like they're just desperate to marry to get out of their situation. Now, so I use that example of 1952, World War II, all this stuff. So let's bring it back to present day. In present day, if any of you guys study science or you look at the ego, you'll know most people in this society function off of the ego, which is fight or flight. So we can say that, in a sense, most people are behaving like they're in a war. Okay? If you're in a war, you either fight or you run, you flight, right? So this is what these Japanese women did. Okay? They were in a war, they lost. They couldn't fight, right? Because they were women and they probably wouldn't have access to any guns. But also, they didn't know what to do to fight. Oh, I should say, I'm sorry. They didn't want to fight, okay? Because fighting would have had to be an idealistic mindset, like, hey, things are gonna get better, we're gonna make it, and support their husbands, brothers, uncles, grandfathers. That's the kind of talk that they'd be having to have. But it was easier for them to just be like, whatever. These guys are gonna die. They're not gonna live long. Whatever. Let's go for the other guy. Okay. So this is the same type of attitude that we have now in present day. Like I said before, most people are in a fight or a flight type of mindset. So with that being said, you having a conversation with a woman and kind of, we talk about this constructive criticism. If the criticism doesn't lead to you hailing her or kind of patting her on the back about her emotional decay, then you have a serious problem on your hands. Okay? You have a serious problem on your hands, and she may look at that problem just like these Japanese women looking at the American soldiers like kind of like gods, because they're like, these dudes, they got the bomb, they got the nuclear bomb, they just dropped the nuclear bomb on us. You know what I'm saying? You know. And in the other sense, in present day, these women, because like I said, most of us function like we're in a war. We either fight or we flight, right? They may look at any entanglement, any challenge as you dropping a nuclear bomb on them, right? So you just dropped a nuclear bomb on them, so now they need to hypergamy, okay? So the quickest way to get out of a situation is to get married, is to have a baby, okay? When you're in that type of mindset, okay? If you think you're at war, if you think, if you feel threatened or if you feel scared, you'll run to these ideas, because in an opportunistic mindset, safety is with marriage and children, okay? Married with children, right? So, so we need to keep that in mind, that, there's a term called rabies babies, where women are, in a rush to have a baby. But I never linked it to this idea that anytime a woman feels threatened, she's going to want to totally turn the situation around, just like these Japanese women, okay? They quickly turned their karma around by marrying up GIs, and just left America and switched their whole lifestyle, right? This one woman said she changed everything but the food, right? So, And we've seen these scenarios before. I have a few friends that are married to Japanese women, and I hope. Let me stop bullshitting. I know, I feel like that these women are probably in that same category. Okay, just because it's present day doesn't mean that this inherent nature from 1950, from 1920, isn't still there, where woman doesn't care what the guy looks like, doesn't care what he's about, just cares to change her karma, try to erase some of the data files of negativity or unsuccessful relationship. Okay, some women may look at a relationship like where they were dumped as the most traumatic. Okay, it wasn't successful, they got dumped, they need to change their karma around. What's the quickest way to change the karma around? Have a baby, get married. Okay, because women, they dwell on things like over and over and over and over again. It'll just keep on playing out in their mind. So this is the reason why most women are on medication for anxiety, for depression. I've met a lot of women, and I ended up doing a research on it about a year and a half ago on the reasons why women are so medicated. And just a brief on that, I think it goes into a little bit of what I was saying, that because of their inherent nature of constantly going over things over and over and over inside of their mind, they need a blockage. And so when you take an anxiety pill, what happens is it supersedes the thinking part of your brain and just goes to the acting part of your brain. Okay, so you may think that somebody's gotten over some relationship that they were with you. You may think that they're so happy, but meanwhile they're just on drugs. Okay, I was dating this one hot chick. She was really hot. She was a yoga instructor, and she had some of the tramp stamps on her, but I thought it was kind of cute. But she didn't have that attitude. She was a bit polished, and in the way that she spoke, and she was professional, had like a corporate job and things of that sort, had her own house. And but the deeper I went into her, the deeper I seen that this girl was on a lot of medication. She had a situation that happened where she lost somebody really close to her, and it was difficult for her to get over it. But that wasn't the main cause of her starting to take pills. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was just stress. It was just, there was a lot on her plate, and it was difficult for her to deal with all of it. And then she had the person that was close to her that died. So she had a time where she started them, got off, and then got back on after this person that was close to her died, or whatever. So what does that say? We've been talking about war brides, and I think pairing it with prescription drugs for anxiety is cool, because it goes back into this idea and the inherent nature of a woman that she doesn't want to get intellectual. Okay, she doesn't want to think about stuff. She just wants to do. Okay, that's a lot easier for her. Okay, and that's why we talked about war brides today. The war brides we don't know if they took a pill. they did take like a metaphysical pill that, hey, this is going to be better. I'm going to dump my husband, my brother, my grandfather, and start a new life. Fuck these guys over here. Same shit over here in present day. Okay? There could be a goal, there could be a task, but women are seldom in the mindset of being able to go long term on a goal. Okay? So today was about war brides. We got stopped up by the rain. I was fortunate enough to find a little ATM spot and finish up the video right there. That's why we went over a little bit, but I like this video. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe, and make sure everybody's staying safe out there for the hurricane. Go get out, go do something. Warrior mode if they shut down jobs for today. Go parachute, go parasail, with some of those crazy guys in St. Pete. If you've never done that, it's a lot of fun. Let's make it a great day. Let's stay positive. And this topic today was war brides. And like I said, I suggest everybody take a look at those videos. Just type in Japanese war brides, and you'll see how that links us to present day society, where women will put on a mask basically to get what they want. And so it just continues on. She didn't like the guy, as I told you, like in the video, the Japanese that they married into. This was all hypergamy. And I'm going to do a video specifically about hypergamy eventually, but if you don't know what that is, just type it in. I believe that was coined by Rollo Tomasi, the guy that wrote The Rational Male. Basically, just a basic on that is that women always look to date up, okay? They always look to go up. They always looking to advance on a board by any means necessary. If that means destroying a whole village, if that means allowing, like in the Japanese case, allowing your husband, brother, uncle, grandfather to be destroyed. Because when you think about it, when these war brides started catering to the American men, what happens to the Japanese men? Now, they get no support. They continue to die off by the droves. And I'm pretty sure if I do research, I'll find that the suicide rate probably was at its all-time high at the time. Because you lose a war, you got nuclear bombed, and then your women leave you. That's some serious devastation right there. Okay? And so, but they'll put on the happy face, they're pleasant, and all this other stuff is, and that's another thing that's interesting about this. I think that's the reason why I brought up anxiety, how they want to act as opposed to thinking. Think about how these Japanese women that were able to get out of Japan were thinking. I mean, they've got most of their family behind. Most of the men don't have the options of trying to trick a GI into marrying them so they can get out. So they have to deal with the consequences. They have to deal with the scenario that's placed into their hand, right? So that's what we do, guys, okay? We deal with the scenario that's at hand. We don't run, we don't hide, we don't fight physically with women, okay? Because that's the worst thing you can do. You're an idiot if you do. We do not support that on this channel. Hire a lawyer if the situation calls for it, and try to be as intellectual as possible, because we are not feeling emotional people looking to just act without thinking, okay? So let's make it a great day today. Stay safe. I told you guys about the hurricane Michael. Just do that, and make sure you're getting it in, physical, spiritual, and mental. And once again, I want to big up the black, white, yellow, purple, whatever. Do your thing. Peace.